Hello and welcome to Non Sequitur News for July 1st, 2025. It's Season 4, Episode 182. I'm MayorWatt. We're going to talk about no comp drinks for $25,000 blackjack hand, a $1.4 million Nintendo Switch 2 heist, cleaner disposable diapers, thanks beer, which might be the reason why there's diapers involved. Anyway, some not as bright, a can of Biss? Bit? Anyway, the drink of summer, Italian beer ice. Rainforest deaths are surging. Where is the song of summer? Orapuche, I guess it is, virus is coming to your town and Steam can highlight frame generation technology. That maybe it'll be smoother sailing as we go into July. We'll see. This is the first day, and it is a time machine episode, so we're going to be ripping through this pretty darn quick. So see you in a little bit. All right, let's get right on into it. The internet explodes when Resorts World Las Vegas refuses to comp drinks for a $25,000 blackjack hand. And it's per hand, by the way. So here's some good news for anyone lacking the perfect example of the site for when Las Vegas isn't what it used to be. A video posted to the live streaming platform kick.com on Sunday documents Resorts World refusing to comp drinks for three men playing $25,000 per hand blackjack. And because they weren't staying at the hotel. Holy crap. Okay, that's just short-sighted. So they say, I can't comp it, but I can. Yeah, the host says, what? I can't comp it, but I can. So you would have to comp it. One player cuts the host off. I mean, we're playing $25,000 hands. When the host asks if the players would like to speak to the manager, the same player replies, yes, please. A second player adds, this is like the difference between Red Rock and here. So the third player, who has until then been laughing maniacally at what he sees and hears, it says, and what his eyes and ears were telling him, he was witnessing, tries to react, but can only form the words, Jesus Christ, that's wild. Yeah, I can imagine. So there's a Twitter user, M1919091, isolated and shared the exchange. The internet exploded immediately and predictably. His clip generated nearly 750,000 views in less. Everybody loves a dumpster fire. I really wish that I could just be a dumpster fire, but I don't know. I guess I don't think I have a chill, but I seem to be pretty chill about things in relation to all of that. So it says people need to stop going to casinos that act like that, commented SatX Poker. I don't know where they're actually, if that's on Twitter as well. But anyway, they say, I bet a fraction of this blackjack 300, 500 a hand and Bellagio, Aria, Venetian bend over backwards to make sure that I'm happy and get what I want. Free parking, no resort fee is just putting lipstick on a pig, added Skylar Jameson 1, referring to the promotions undertaken by Resorts World this summer to position itself as a value destination. Says they need to make up the millions in fines to the gaming board they paid, apparently. Says Casablanca Rick, referring to the second largest fine in Las Vegas history, approved against Resorts World in March for money laundering. Yeah, I mean, this is the equivalent of mergers and acquisitions. There isn't much left, so what is there is able to do this kind of stuff. Basically, you say, pay for the drinks after each hand is $25,000. Yeah, you're out of your mind. The article, though, is from Corey Leviton over at casino.org. The rest of the article goes more into all of this, but they say the funniest moment came when the sharp social media manager at Red Rock Casino Resort and Spa. Wait, what did he say? The account replied, referring to the earlier comment about Red Rock. So they need to make the million. This just seems really absurd. Exposed himself, tweeted his own version on Tuesday, achieving 118,000 views within 8 hours. This whole article, I don't know what the actual end of what the final thing was here, because I guess I would have to watch the video. I don't think that there is an end to that. Like did the manager come over and go, just give them their drinks? In fact, make them top shelf drinks, Hell, get them drunk so that they bomb out of their $25,000 hands. If you're going to lean into, being kind of a tool, then that's the depth you'll go. Anyway, the next article is over in FourWheelTech. Both GameStop and Love's Truck Stop feature is a massive $1.4 million Nintendo Switch 2 heist. More than 2,800 Nintendo Switch 2 consoles were stolen from a tractor trailer at some point between Washington and Colorado, according to this article over at Jalopnik. Matthew DeBoard put the article together. The devices were headed for a GameStop, and the company briefly trolled the thieves on Twitter before reportedly taking down its post that said, "Come trade them in, we dare you." That's obviously a pretty GameStop-y stunt. Rounding out the entire tale, GameStop is well known for its trade-in policy. They put in brackets here. The Switch 2 has only been on sale since early June, and is in high demand, and evidently they were on shipping pallets, making the heist all the more impressive as the trucker didn't even notice the units were missing for much of his trip. In the dark about the cargo, in the dark altogether. So almost everybody who has done some road tripping has encountered a Love's at some point. The location is just off I-70 in Bennett, Colorado, roughly 30 miles from Denver. I wonder if somebody knew about it. They say, "I'm no detective" in the article, but I'm going to suggest that due to these factors, the theft didn't happen where the trucker finally noticed it, but at some point along the journey. So who is responsible? The thing about it is these are all tracked. They know what the devices are. They have IDs on them, on the packaging, on the device itself. Everybody who buys one of these stolen items they're gonna get busted for it. Anyway, maybe the thieves knew what was in the trailer, maybe they didn't. Regardless, they must have a way to make off with the over 2,800 Switch 2s, so they were probably well-organized professionals. 2,800 of them. Pretty wild. Anyway, $700,000 in e-cigarettes were boosted in California. Yeah, wild. Oh, and it's going to be an interesting Christmas, y'all. Stay tuned. Y'all think that there's going to be money flowing left and right for Christmas, but nope. Nope. Next article is over in Hedge Ideas. How a beer making process is used to make cleaner disposable diapers, apparently. Zymochem is using the same fermentation process for making beer to develop a biodegradable core for disposable diapers. The article is by Diana Olick over at CNBC.com. The startup doesn't make diapers, but plans to sell its drop-in absorbents to other companies. Biodegradable absorbent cores. Did you know that disposable diapers are a $60 billion business and are a terror on the environment? Yes. What we need to do is stop reproducing everywhere. Just stop. Everybody right now, just stop reproducing. That will solve well, at least until we hit the other side of the trend. I mean, you go out the same way you come into the world, right? Wearing diapers. Anyway, growing number of parents are also turning to cloth diapers, but they only make up about 20% of the U.S. market, which I thought is considerably higher than I expected. I just did not expect 20% of the U.S. market switching to cloth diapers. An alternative approach has been compostable diapers, which can be made from wood pulp or bamboo. But composting services aren't universally available, and some of the products are less absorbent than normal nappies, a critic says. Zymochem, with operations in San Leandro, California, and Burlington, Vermont, invented the new type of absorbent by using a fermentation process to convert a renewable resource, sugar, from corn into biodegradable materials, similar to making beer, but it's not a beer I'm gonna imbibe. Thank you very much. The company's drop-in absorbents can be added into other diapers, which makes it different from environmentally conscious companies like Charlie Banana, Kudos, and Hero, which sell their own brand of diapers. They don't have a diaper product on the market, Zymochem. But Lindy Fishburne, managing partner at Breakout Ventures and an investor in the company, says it's a scalable model. Yeah, no shit. But diapers are going to get more expensive if they're the ones that are supplying everything, but it's biodegradable. So the people who are environmentally conscious will foot the bill. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. If you're reading this, your brain is glowing. Some not as bright. If you ever watched a big brain cartoon character's head radiate with a green or yellow glow, then when they're using their incredible powers of their mind, and wondered, why not me? Why can't my brain glow when I think? Well, good news, it does. You just need specialized equipment. We've actually talked about this fact that we living creatures glow, but you can't see it. We actually have an aura. Some people will say that it's a supernatural thing and it's a lot of woo-woo, but researchers have actually put animals, mice, inside a containment unit that was absolutely dark with high technology photosensors, and it picked up a glow. And I don't want to get into all the specifics, but let's just say living creatures glow. So maybe there is somebody out there that is sensitive to your aura, and they know that Pisces is crossing into I don't know what. Anyway, well, the article is over at Vice.com. Lewis Prada put the article together. It says, from every time you form a thought, you're turning yourself into a giant meaty flashlight. Yeah, apparently photons escape from us as we energize various parts of us. So as reported by Popular Mechanics and discovered by researchers at Algoma University in Ontario, our brain emits faint flashes of visible light. These aren't bright brain beams that can light a darkened room. Certainly not any room that I walk into. My brain like absorbs light, and I darken the room I enter. There's always like the sucking sound too. It's on one side of my head. Low pressure on one side, high pressure on the other. So they're extremely weak photon emissions, or UPEs. Essentially, when your brain burns through energy, it sheds teeny tiny particles of light as a byproduct. And every time you form a thought, you're turning yourself into a giant meaty flashlight, says the article. I'm not even going to go into the rest of this, because we've actually talked about this previously. It wasn't as colorful as this, but it says, since UPEs are tied to oxidative metabolism, they could help detect things like brain tumors, trauma, early signs of neurodegenerative diseases without needing to stuff your head full of a billion-dollar MRI machine that can rip out that one awkwardly placed piercing you forgot to remove. In fact, I was in an MRI recently, and I had forgotten to take my belt off. I was not the patient, but anyway, I was in the room, and so my belt, they hadn't fired it up to full speed, and my belt was going tug, tug, tug into the magnet. And I said to the technician, "Hey, I'll be right back." And they're like, "Something tugging on you?" And I'm like, yeah, it's that machine right there. It was a really high resolution one too, and I had to. I'll be back. So walked away, came back. My pants kept falling down. Overshare. Oh, look, we even have a thing. All right. Anyway, spacecraft carrying human remains and cannabis. Oh, I thought it said a can of bis. Can of what? A can of bis. Crashed into the ocean. So they sent some pretty interesting payloads into space since the first satellite, Sputnik 1, launched in 57. As access to space has increased largely to the commercial space industry, so too have types of payloads that they're sending. Consider the Nix capsule created by a German aerospace startup. The Exploration Company was launched June 23rd from Vandenberg Space Force Base. I always giggle at that. Space Force! Atop a Falcon 9 as part of a rideshare mission. Well, Matthew Williams from Universe Today put the article together. Lisa Locke and Andrew Zenin were involved in editing and reviewing. So while the mission achieved orbit and a controlled re-entry, the capsule's landing parachutes failed to deploy before landing. This caused the next capsule to crash in the Pacific Ocean on June 24th, causing all of its cargo to be lost at sea. This was the first time the exploration company sent customer payloads into space, equivalent enough 660 pounds of cargo. And I'm surprised that it didn't land in a living room of a Florida resident. No, just me? Okay. Anyway, the capsule was launched successfully, powered the payloads nominally in orbit, stabilized itself after separation from the launcher, re-entered and re-established communication after blackout, but it encountered an issue afterward based on current knowledge. This is the one where they think that the drogue chute didn't open, or it did open, but the parachute collapsed or something. So it says that this is the second time Celestis has lost a payload, the previous having taken place in 2023 when a rocket containing the cremated remains of the late NASA astronaut Philip K. Chapman exploded over New Mexico. Oh, not good. Anyway, our team, in the coming days, our team will reach out to each family individually to offer support and discuss possible next steps. A couple of days, you should probably have people on hand right away. Anyway, hey, they were doing what they loved to do, right? That's probably what they wanted to do, go up into space as remains. I don't know. It's interesting, like, what was the purpose of that? But anyway, the first mission, Bikini, launched a smaller re-entry capsule in July 2024 atop an Ariane 6 rocket, but the capsule remained in orbit after the rocket's upper stage failed to launch it on its re-entry trajectory. So it's like just sitting out there. So eventually it'll all come collapsing back. Who knows when, though? And maybe into somebody's living room. Let's keep on going. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Peroni wants Italian beer ice to be the drink of summer. Peroni Nastro Azzurro collaborated with Giada De Laurentiis to create Peroni Italian beer ice. The article is over at adweek.com. The author of this is Brittany Kiefer. Beer brand teamed up with Giada De Laurentiis to create the boozy frozen treat beer ice. I don't know what it says frozen treat infused with Peroni's Italian lager. I guess. 30-second ad playfully nods to Italian nostalgia and De Laurentiis' personality. Agency Quality Meats is behind the campaign. Wow. That's a hell of a name to be tromping out there. So also continues to be the brand's platform, encouraging people to embrace Italian lifestyle, slowing down and savoring life's simple pleasures like observing Bezos in Italy, spending all kinds of money. Anyway, it's an example of how they're infusing La Dolce Vita into the world of beer. The frozen treat helps people slow down while drinking. Yeah, I mean, you have to slow down. Let's see what else is in here. Recent marketing has attempted to address the brand challenges, such as maintaining its premium positioning and adapting to evolving consumer preferences in a difficult and cluttered beverage market. So, I don't know. Here's to craft brewers all around the world. Keep crushing the macro. Because I'm not interested in tasteless macro beers. I like local craft brews. Lots of personality, lots of flavor. Man, and smoothie beers, they just knock it out of the park. My gosh. But it is horrible on a diet. Anyway, let's keep on going. The next article is over in... Hold on a second. I just heard a weird noise. Rainforest deaths are surging, and scientists just found the shocking cause. Tropical trees are dying at an accelerating rate, and a surprising new culprit is emerging: thunderstorms. While drought and heat have been long blamed, scientists now believe that fast, fierce convective storms loaded with lightning and destructive winds may be responsible for as much as 60% of tree deaths in some rainforests. The article is sourced from scitechdaily.com. Carey Institute of Ecosystem Studies put the article together. Yeah, so they say that these short-lived convective storms are nothing like sprawling hurricanes or cyclones. They flare up quickly, whip the canopy with fierce winds, release bolts of lightning that can snap towering trunks in seconds. Writing in ecology letters, Gora and colleagues argue that the tempest may be the major driver of the rising tree mortality trend, stripping trees of the carbon they store and reshaping biodiversity. I can't imagine that there's enough lightning strikes on trees that it's killing 60% of the decline. Tree deaths are caused by lightning. Yeah, probably more erosion and drought than anything else. Like that right there. So Carey Institute forest ecologist Evan Gora stands near the roots of a tree knocked over by winds from a thunderstorm. That's more erosion than anything. I mean, wind won't knock over a tree where its roots are firmly rooted. This looks like the roots were barely very deep, you know. Maybe there's others that are in there, buried further in there, but I don't know. I don't know what the hell is behind this thing. It could be a tree. It could just be a stump. Anyway, it says there, our estimates suggest that storms are responsible for 30 to 60% of tree mortality in the past, and that the number might be increasing as storm activity increases by 5 to 25% each year, or decade, each decade. So, I mean, look at that. That looks like it hit 4 trees, roughly, and one partially. You know, this looks more like something that's pinned in between other trees. And so it hit that one. Maybe that right there and that are all together. So it hit 3 trees, a couple of branches. That is a close-up. You know, if you saw that forest from orbit, it would be massive and completely lost in the hustle. That's just one tree died. Who cares? But storm damage, it's a natural thing that happens. So it's not like we're supposed to do something about it. Environmental impact of humans, yeah, that's a different animal. So why distract by saying that it's storms and lightning that's causing it when it's humans that are causing climate change? I mean, it really is. But I guess you can litigate that until the cows come home, just like it's still being litigated that cigarettes are the cause of lung cancer, for crying out loud. Why? Because some people have lung cancer and they've never smoked. Well, it might be because they were close to smokers and lived around smokers, and they were susceptible to the genetic modifications that were necessary. They were prone to it because their immune system couldn't fight off whatever bullshit the cigarettes caused. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. I practice a thing where it's called associative thinking, and so one thing leads to another and it's tied together, but we always come back around to our real discussion. Anyway, Non Sequitur News is where the next article is. Seriously, where's the song of the summer? As July kicks off, 2025 still lacks a defining summer anthem. Alex Warren and Sabrina Carpenter have been charting hits, but they lack creativity and staying power, according to this article. Last year's musical highs, combined with this year's political chaos, have produced a pop hangover. By the way, the last episode, not the last episode, but a couple of episodes ago, I said, I don't even talk about politics, but because I said politics, I would not be able to promote that episode, right? Advertise. And that's exactly what happened. They blocked, Google blocked the promotion because I said something about not talking about politics. They blocked it. So, and I'm going to do it with this too. Every time I talk, I even mention politics. And sometimes they've actually blocked promotion because something political is on the screen incidental to what I'm talking about. There's like an ad or something on the side that mentions something political. They block it. I am literally supposed to blur out anything having to do with politics, even though I'm not involved in politics. I don't talk about politics. While everybody has a dog in that hunt, you know, politics and shaping the way that the nation goes. You all have a vote. It's very important. You should all exercise it. I don't talk about it on the show. I do talk about science, technology, and society. So I guess you could always pin everything. This has something to do with politics because they mentioned politics. So I'm not going to be able to even promote this. Anyway, Callie Algram over at BusinessInsider.com put this article together. And they say, it's official, pop fans are suffering through a dry spell. By this time last year, they had already been treated to a veritable feast of summertime smashes and breakout stars. Shabuzi's A Bar Song, which eventually tied the all-time record for most weeks at number 1. Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso, followed closely by her chart-topping Please, 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 and Chapel Roan's Good Luck Babe, not to mention the entirety of Charlie XCX's, I don't know how to pronounce that, XCX's Brat, a zeitgeisty album if one ever existed. I gotta go listen to it, I guess. And that's a show that I actually want to put on. Not quite sure. Like Mix War is something where music creators would have to submit their music and I would stream it live and talk about it. And it would be a competition. It's called Smash or Trash. Or no, I'm sorry. It's Mix War, but I actually want to do one called Smash or Trash where I call it a smash hit, or should it be trash it. I love the idea of doing that, but it can't be a VOD. I have to do it live and I have to track certain things, and you pay a fee to whoever it is that owns the rights to it. There's 3 main organizations, but anyway, but no synchro license means that it can't be a VOD, but I can play music, and I just basically pay a fee for it. Anyway, it says Ordinary has failed to capture the zeitgeist in any meaningful way. Rather, it belongs to the same derivative gospel-adjacent subgenre of pop that has also spawned hits like Benson Boone's Beautiful Things and Teddy Swims' Lose Control. This is the kind of music you hear a lot in the grocery store and the dentist's office. I love musical gatekeeping. Newer songs in the Hot 100 current top 10 include 3 tracks from Morgan Wallen's latest album, I'm the Problem, Carpenter's June single, Man-Child. You might assume these are the leading Song of Summer contenders, but even market-tested hitmakers Wallen and Carpenter have yet to recreate their dominance from recent years. Wallen's What I Want, featuring Tate McRae, debuted atop the chart, but immediately fell from its summit. In the second week, Man-Child met the same fate. So it's just churning. We don't have anything, probably because people are burnt the hell out. So let's keep on going. Let's meet a new virus, Orapuche, I guess it is, Orapuche. Maybe visiting your city soon. Yay! Orapuche virus disease was a relatively rare illness for decades, lurking on the margins of tropical rainforests in the Caribbean and South America. Sporadic reports of an infection causing fevers, coughs, chills, body aches emerged. It's just the flu. Wash your hands. It's nothing. Just wash it away. Oh, you know what? We're like at the end of the show. Not really, but I didn't do today's articles. There you go. It's all okay now. Anyway, tiny insect called a midge spreads the disease. The earliest known case is back in 1955 in a forest worker near a village called Vega de Orapuche in Trinidad. Since most people who were infected the virus recovered on their own, it's largely unknown. But Umair Irfan over at Vox.com put the article together. 23,000 people across Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Peru. It was an outbreak that started in 2023, infected at least 23,000 people. It wasn't just confined to remote areas, but was spreading to metropolises like Rio de Janeiro. So far, Orapuche fever has sprung up in the US, Canada, Europe, in people returning from afflicted regions. The outbreak has killed at least 5 people. Since its discovery, there's only been around 500,000 known cases. Is that all? It's almost the entire population of Wyoming, which you have to park your car in states around Wyoming because they won't allow technology in there, from what I understand. Anyway, now researchers looking back at the outbreak to try to find out what they missed and what lessons they can apply ahead of the future epidemics. Orapuche virus is a critical case study in the complicated factors that drive vector-borne diseases. Dynamics like deforestation, urban sprawl, international travel, gaps in surveillance are converging to drive up the dangers of infection spread by animals. But hey, as long as it's not you, right? All right, the next in our last article, the last one for our July 1st episode. Again, time machine. Steam can now show you how much frame generation changes your games. Valve's added a new feature, performance monitor, to Steam that will help you understand why a game may or may not be running smoothly. Not only does it break out a game's overall frame rate, it can tell you by how many of those frames were generated by techniques like NVIDIA's DLSS or AMD's FSR. By the way, we're going to end up talking about, are you pronouncing NVIDIA incorrectly? You might be. So the changes included as part of an update to the Steam client that's available now, though Valve notes that this first version focuses on Windows users and on the most common GPU hardware. Yeah, it's just going to let you know how well the game is performing within the Steam environment. Jay Peters over at TheVerge.com put the article together. That's if you allow it to display the data. A new performance monitor shows you GPU, CPU, RAM, the bottom of the screen, how many frames per second. Interesting. Yeah, it looks interesting. If you're, one of those quants, you're a data head. So Steam previously offered a simple FPS counter, but separating out generating frames from the frames fully rendered by your graphics cores can help you better understand key differences between what you see and how the game feels. Frame generation can't help with things like input latency that matter to competitive gamers, but it can make things look visually smoother on today's high refresh rate monitors, Valve says in a detailed support document. Because you got to think of a monitor as a flip book, but it's very, very fast, right? So if you're getting 130 frames per second, our visual acuity is really dependent on our training and to some degree genetics. But we can be trained to observe more, and it's a constant stream. It isn't set at 30 frames per second or 42 frames, some people want to sit there and say, or 144 frames or 250 frames. What matters is that if data is presented, you want it as fast and furious as possible so that you don't miss anything when your brain and your eyes sync up and you're looking at something. You don't want 5 frames to be everything that you are observing. Otherwise, you can miss something as the game progresses from one frame to another. It's kind of like a low resolution surveillance camera. If it's only recording at 5 frames a second, then somebody could pass the entire range that's being reviewed by the surveillance camera, and you wouldn't be able to observe anything. So you want as many frames as possible with your equipment. That's just kind of how it works, because it's like a flipbook. So Valve says that it has plans to add some additional pieces of data to the performance overlays going forward to detect certain common bad hardware performance scenarios and to show a larger summary of your game's performance in an overlay itself. In the overlay itself, when you hit Shift Tab, put it over on a different monitor. Most people nowadays have 2 monitors. If you don't, you really need to go out and get at least another monitor so that you can have important stuff on one screen and reference material on another and be able to bounce back and forth without having this, swipe tabs and all that garbage. Anyway, it will vastly improve your workflow and enjoyability of your computer. I don't want to tell you how many monitors I got. Let's just say NASA consults. They don't, but I'll just lob that out there and let that rumor float. Anyway, so we are going to shift tab over to ohmTown for July 1st, 2025. That's the end of our show, and we are going to bounce out of here. So I'm going to shut down, retool, be back for the July 2nd episode where we're going to talk about Lost in Space and linking to a rival search platform in the UK. Hello, Google. See you in a little bit, everybody. Bye-bye.